Hello and welcome to a new watercolor video. Today I'm doing a follow along tutorial of how to create this really pretty Christmas card. So I've made this in watercolor paints and coloured pencils. So this is the second one in the series. I'm going to do a few little Christmas card videos. This was the first one. I'll link that below in the description if you haven't seen that and you'd like to follow that one. Again, watercolour and coloured pencils. So I provide the line work as well on my Patreon page. So you can download that if you don't want to draw the outline yourself, and that'll also be linked in the description below. And I'll also list all the paint colours and pencil colours and all the equipment that I use in the video. Got it taped to a board. Now I've decided to go with the artist's tape rather than the fancy washi tape because it's just not very good. That as soon as you put the heat gun on it, it starts peeling up. I'm going to use this. This is more secure, and I'm going to use some Daniel Smith paints. The last Christmas card I made was with the Gansai Tambi paints, and I had a little bit of a struggle with them. I'm not used to them, so I need to get to know them a little bit more. So I'm going to go back to Daniel Smith for this card. Okay, so I'll get some paints mixed up. And I'm wanting this picture to be a kind of pink card. So it's going to be very similar to this, only a different colour scheme. I'm going to go with pink, and obviously the subject's going to be different. It's going to be an angel. And for the glitter, because I used the gold fragments in this one to add this glitter to the background, I'm going to pick the pinky colour. So there's two. There's the violet fragments and blush, and I think I'm going to go with blush. So get this one out. I'm going to put quite a few drops of water on as usual and leave it to soak for a few minutes. I think I'm going to go with this quinacridone rose. I'm going to get some of that made up. I'm going to add the blush fragments to that to give a nice sparkly background. So I'm going to wet the whole of the paper. So this paper that I'm using is the Fabriano Artistico, and it's hot press. I'm going to carefully go around those wings. I want the wings to be white. I'm just going to go over the dress as well because the dress is going to be pink as well. So we're just leaving the face, the hair, the wings, and then the snow at the bottom without any water. In fact, I'm going to cover the snow as well because I just want a little bit of pink around the edges. So I'm just going to drop some in around there and then leave all this bit white. So because the whole thing's wet, it will just kind of blend in a little bit itself. Now I'm going to get the colour and I'm going to kind of drop it in. I want it quite light towards the edges, quite pale, a little bit darker on the inside. I've cleaned my brush, pulled most of the water out, and then I'm just going to blend this area here on the snow so that we've just got a little bit of pink around the edge. And then I'm going to make this a little bit stronger pink kind of on the inside here, but just fading out a little bit towards the edge. And that glittery part clumps together a bit. I'm trying to spread it out a little bit because it can clump up a little bit. I'm just using the tip of the brush just to manipulate that glitter around. It's difficult to see when it's wet, but you'll be able to see when it's dry. Now I'm going to dry that off with the heat gun and we'll go on to layer 2. So you can see the glitter now that it's dry, and this is stuck down a lot better than the washi tape. Last time the washi tape just all peeled up when I put the heat gun on there. For layer 2 I'm going to use the Winsor & Newton. I'm going to use Dioxazine Violet. So it's just called Winsor Violet in Winsor & Newton, but it's actually Dioxazine Violet in other brands, and it's this one here. It's a nice dark purple. I don't have one in the Daniel Smith, so I'm going to use this one. So I'm going to make some of that up. I'm going to put some of that over the top of the pink, just in some areas, and I don't need to add any glitter to that because the glitter will just shine through from the pink underneath. I'm going to wet the whole thing again, but I'm taking it up to the edge of the dress. I'm not going over the dress, and I'm not going to go over the snow. So that's going to be the difference this time. So take the water across the top of the snow, right across to the edge. And can you see here where the glitter kind of clumped together? Now that I'm wetting it again, I'm going to manipulate that. I'm going to spread that out, make it a little bit more even because it was in a clump and I hadn't realised when I dried it. So if we go right up to the edge of where we want the purple to be, and then it won't go any further past that wet line. Then I'm going to lift up any puddles. There's a little bit of puddle in there where the paper's buckled, so I'm going to make sure that there's not too much moisture there. Now I'm going to get some of that purple on the tip of the brush, and I'm going to take it right up to, I'm going to switch to a smaller brush, get some of that purple, and kind of go around the edge like this, around the edge of the fairy. And then I'm going to blend that out like this. Just see if it looks kind of even. I mean, it doesn't really matter so much because we're going to go over the top with some coloured pencil. So this is just the base layer. Okay, so layer 2 is now completely dry. Now I think that's a little bit too bright. I want it to be a little bit more muted, which is what I was trying to do with the purple, because the dress is going to be like super bright pink. So we want the background to be a little bit more muted so that it's not fighting with the high vibrancy of the dress. So I'm going to wet everything again. It doesn't matter if you slightly go over the hair and the dress because we're going to be covering that up with pencil. It's just the wings. We try and stay clear of the wings because we want them to be nice and white. So again, wet the whole thing except for the fairy. Wet all the bottom as well. by the way, you can add posts to my YouTube page, the community page. If you want to upload your painting when you've followed these tutorials, that would be absolutely lovely to look at. I would love to see the paintings that people have done when they followed along. And somebody did say to me a few weeks back that they wish they could upload their painting, and I said you can actually. You can go on my community page and do that. It's only just something new on YouTube. It used to be just the content creator could post on the community tab, but now viewers can as well, so that would be good. So the next thing I'm going to do, just to dull it down a little bit, is get a little bit of, can't decide whether to do Payne's Grey or Indigo. I think I'll get a little bit of Indigo. I don't want much. I want it to be quite weak. And then I'm just going to cover that area with the Indigo. Just a very, very light layer, just to mute the pinkness down a little bit. And then take that onto the snow as well, just kind of at the edges and the bottom. We want the snow to be light as possible at the top, so we might have to add some white gouache at the end to that as well. And then if it pulls up where the paper buckles, try and lift some of that out with a damp brush. Okay, so I'm going to dry that off with a heat gun. And it doesn't matter about, can you see how on the hair the blue's gone onto the hair a little bit? It doesn't matter because the hair's going to be dark brown, so we'll be going over the top of that. So now I'm going to do the face. I just want it to be a really light flesh because the hair is going to be dark, so it'll be a nice contrast against a really pale face. And I've got this. This is by Matthew Palmer. Now this is sat in my drawer for a long time, so I hope it's not gone absolutely solid. So you only need the tiniest little bit. So you can just make up your own flesh colour. It's a little bit tricky, but yeah, I'm just going to use this pre-made one. I think that'll probably be enough. I'm just going to water that down. It doesn't matter if it goes onto the hair, that's going to be dark, so it'll cover it up. So we just want to wet the face and the neck area, then drop some of that colour in. Dry that off. Now I want a nice, fairly dark brown for the hair. I'm just going to use this raw umber. So the Daniel Smith raw umber, that's a fairly dark brown. And then if you look at the difference between the raw umber on the Winsor & Newton, completely different colour. So I'm going to use this dark one. I'm just going to paint this onto the dry paper. Just carefully with this little number 4 brush with a nice point. I'm going to try and get that shape. It's kind of roundy, tidy up the edges. Try and kind of make it even on both sides, because I know that I didn't get it even with the pencil, so I'm just going to go around the outside of that a little bit to try and make it match the other side. I'm going to add pencil over the top, so don't need to worry too much. Then we've got 2 roundy buns here. I'm going to add some black fine liner over the top of that as well. So I'm just going to try and make those, just try and make it symmetrical. And then this is also some hair underneath here. I want to get the line nice and straight around the cheeks. Right, now I'm going to colour the dress. I want it to be really, really bright pink, so I'm going to use the permanent rose, and I'm actually going to mix some opera pink into that as well to make it even brighter. I'm going to get a little bit of that in the next one, water it down. I'm going to use that really weak colour to put a base layer on the dress. Make sure the flesh colour and the hair is definitely dry so they don't run into each other if they touch. I want it really, really light in the middle of the dress and dark around the edges to create, you know, some like three-dimensional shape. So I want it nice and light in the middle. And I'm going to get some of the stronger colour and drop it in around the edges. And I'm cleaning the brush and getting the excess water off it. I'm going to drag that to blend a little bit. Try and make it kind of even it out. Darkness right at the very edges and across the bottom. And then we're going to make it a little bit easier by adding pencil over the top as well. It's still a little bit of good watercolour practice. And as long as there's not too much water on the paper, you can spend a bit more time blending just to try and get it a little bit more even. Right, now I'm going to completely dry that off and then move on to the fine liner. I'm not really sure if I can do the fine liner over the top of the coloured pencil, so I'm going to do the fine liner now and make some nice scribbly lines around the outside and then do a little bit of shading over the top with pencil. So I'm going to start with the hair, and we want some, first of all, I'll start with these little star patterns, so just some little scribbly star patterns here. Then we want to go around the buns and make like a little swirl, maybe something. I'm going to put a couple of little decorative bits on the dress. Just a little bit of fancy edging across the bottom. And I was going to have like a white waistband, so I'll paint that in white. I want like a white bow. And then I'll put some white paint over the top of that to make it look like it's kind of a white bow in the middle. Okay, so that's as far as I'm going to go with the watercolor. I'm just going to really now try and make the whole thing pop a lot more with some coloured pencil. I'm going to start with the face and the hair. So just use whatever coloured pencils you've got. I'm using the Holbein ones. And for the face I've got Autumn Leaf and Scarlet and black for the hair. So lamp black. I'm going to get the Autumn Leaf and just add a little bit of shading kind of around the edges. A little bit on the neck. I mean, it looks very bumpy close up, but it does give it that lovely kind of textured look, which I think is quite nice. Then I'm going to get the vermilion and I'm going to really carefully add some rosy cheeks. So start off fairly dark and then kind of lighten it up a little bit. I might use another colour over the top, a lighter colour to try and blend it out, but I'll wait and see what it looks like. It's really showing up the texture of the paper. But it does kind of look cute as well. Then I'm going to get the black pencil and add some shading around near the bun area to give a bit of shape to the hair. Maybe more around the centre, around the pattern area. Maybe make this a little bit darker underneath, the hair underneath. Just underneath the buns, it'll make the buns stand out a little bit more. Now I'm going to use a fairly dark purple colour. This one's called Iris. And I'm going to go around the edges and darken around the fairy. So I want it fairly dark right up till the edge and then just kind of fade it out. I'm just doing it really softly. So we've got that, we're going to have that nice texture, that nice pencil texture on the paper and create a little bit of darkness to make the fairy pop out a little bit more. And then a little bit darker across the bottom here, try and cover that pencil line. And this should make that snow stand out more. Now I've got this pencil called Rose Grey. So this is like a dusky pink. And I'm going to take this around the edges down here. Just to kind of, I'm going to fade it in. Leave it more white here, but just fade this pink colour in from the sides. A little bit across the bottom. Now I'm going to use this super bright pink, Azelia pink, and now I'm going to add some extra dark pink around the outside of the dress to try and make it really stand out. I want to keep it nice and pale in the middle. I'm going to darken it underneath here where there would be kind of shadows underneath in these little areas. Then I'm going to get this one, which is Raisin. So this is also like a really dark purple. And I want to make those edges even darker. That'll really darken that pink. And I'm going to get the Azelia again. Now I'm going to really burnish it to get more pink out of that. I've got some white gouache here, and I'm going to paint a little white area here because we want this to kind of stand out. So it looks like there's a white bow there and a white waistband. Probably have to do 2 layers because it'll dry a lot lighter, a lot darker I should say. I might cover up some of these hair strands because they didn't really turn out very well. So I'll just cover some of them up. And then I'm going to go over the whole of the picture and paint some little snowdrops, little snowflakes. So it's quite watery. So they will dry faded, and then I'll do some much stronger ones, just like I did on this. Some of them were weak and then some of them were stronger. Right, there we go. That's the finished card. I think it looks quite cute. Right, get the tape off. So I'm going to carefully cut it out. Now I'm going to place that's still, it's a little bit buckled, so I'm going to place it under some books overnight. There we go, so there's the second card in the collection. So that's 2 made now. If you want to watch this one, I'll link it below. And I'm going to just try and show you the sparkle there. So that's the blush fragments. I'm just trying to show you a little bit better under better lighting conditions. You can see that sparkle, and then this is the gold fragments. Okay, so I will try and get more of these cards done in the next few weeks, although as most of you know, my health isn't too good at the moment and I can only do what I can do. I've had a few days pain-free. Today is 3 days without pain, which is amazing, so I'm getting quite a lot of stuff done. I'll just give you a sneak peek of what I'm actually working on for the next video. I've been sent another massive box of stuff from Journal Say, so I've recorded some of this. I've recorded the whole unboxing, and I'm going to do a page like I did last time. I'm not going to be doing these type of videos on this channel all the time. This is probably the last one, But yeah, that'll be my next video. So hopefully that'll be on Friday. If not, Sunday. It really just depends how well I am. Okay, so thank you very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed the video. Please give me a like and subscribe and leave a comment if you don't mind, because that really all helps tell YouTube that you've enjoyed my video, and it all helps towards the success of my channel.